Yeah, it's a weird thing to say to a 15-year-old on live radio.
Russel Brand, the age 48 at the current stage, is facing allegations of the sexual assault and physical and emotional abuse.
The day after the September 11th terrorist attack in America, Brand turned up for work as a video journalist at MTV dressed as Osama bin Laden after he chose to read pornographic material on air is predatory behavior.
We are really not educating people towards how to behave with other bloody people.
The atmosphere of modern-day society has created the illusion of moral, philosophical, and social lines between what is right and what is wrong. We examine this theoretical mirage in today's latest topics and controversies. I'm Erin.
I'm Aleks.
Let's begin.
Let's begin. Today's topic, we are talking about the latest Russell Brand situation that's happening there. So, for those who have not yet caught up with, Russell Brand, the age 48 at the current stage, is facing allegations of the sexual assault and physical and emotional abuse. 5 women initially reported to New York Times, or 4 remain which anonymous. One of which is actually 16 years at the time of the allegations happening.
16 years old.
Yes, yeah. 16 years old of the time of allegations happening. The allegations are stated in between 2006 and 2013 of the time frame, and which at that time he was on the top of his career in BBC, Channel 4, multiple different radios, and he was also shooting some movies in Hollywood. He's at the current stage, he has postponed his tour around because, of course, it's kind of a little bit too buzzing for him. On 19th of September, the old video leaked of him suggesting that 16-year-old, turning 16-year-olds, so 15-year-olds, but turning 16-year-olds.
Yes, this is one of his previous...
Yeah.
This is a previous controversy.
Well, it's
but not in relation to the 16-year-old that he groomed.
No.
And sexually abused.
Yes,
this is a
just
different
the old
controversy.
Video leaked,
yeah,
about him suggesting.
Just him showing his character in the past.
Yeah. And of course, he denied all the allegations, saying that it is a coordinated attack by a major social media and a serious, with a serious agenda or something like that.
Very conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Very his defense of himself is the big media is out to get me.
Yeah.
Kind of BS.
That's actually quite sad because honestly, I started watching his channel in around mid of 2020. And the real turn that you can see in his personality over that time is ridiculous. Over the last 2 years, now I basically cannot turn on his channel anymore. It's just going to be some of the conspiracy theories that's just basically everything is clickbaity and everything is just, this.
Yes.
So yeah, there you go. You've got some things about his previous...
So, well, just to speak on what it has actually been... the accusation of these women towards him. One woman alleges that Brand R-worded her without a condom against the wall in his Los Angeles home. She did go to a crisis center afterwards and had medical testing that confirms in her medical records that she was R-worded. And hopefully there's some DNA evidence within that. Potentially, but we don't know at this stage. A second woman alleges, and we do have to say alleges because we legally can't come out and say that he did these things, alleges that he assaulted her when he was in his 30s and she was 16 and at school, and she alleges that he referred to her as the child during all of the emotional abuse. And it was a very controlling relationship, and he was engaged in behaviors of grooming. A third woman claims that Brand SA'd her while she worked with him in LA, and that she repeatedly told him to get off of her, and he eventually stopped and got super angry at her, like, demanding that he get off of her. And then he threatened to take legal action if she ever told anyone else about this instance. A fourth woman alleged that she was essayed by him, and that he was physically and emotionally abusive towards her. And then a fifth woman came out this past week who accused him of exposing himself to her on a radio show and then laughing about it. So the accusations are extremely serious, and it's nothing to be taken lightly. And I don't think that when there's this many women involved and this many stories from this long ago, that there's much reason to doubt.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it is, it's somewhat of a shame that it's taken that long, but it's also understandable that it's taken that long as well. So, but if the allegations proven to be true, it just needs to be acted on.
I know she refuses to comment on who and what she meant by her interview, but a comedian named Catherine Ryan. She's a Canadian comedian, but she is often on the UK panel shows. I think she's been on like Would I Lie to You and QI and Catherine Ryan. She said specifically in an interview that she also had with another female comedian who I love. I just can't remember her name right now. She was talking about having to work in the space with a comedian who is very well known and who is a sexual predator. And this was years ago that she was discussing this. And I think she's refused to comment and clarify that she was indeed talking about Russell Brand, but I think at this stage we can kind of put two and two together.
That's true. He really not accepted, but to some degree he came out with the fact that he was very much of a sexual predator and having very much of a promiscuous relationship.
He didn't refer to himself as a sexual predator. He referred to himself as an addict. He referred to him as a sexual addict. Not the same.
Not
because you can get a lot of sex as long as you're getting consent. And he was famous. Women would do it.
That's true. Fair.
He could have had it consensually.
I agree. But at the same time, he said that everything was consensual. So he yes, I was a sexual addict in that particular manner, which I think basically means a sexual predator, just from different perspective. I think it's the same thing.
I don't think that you, to be a sex addict, you have to be a sex predator. Because you can get consent 100% of the time.
I think in order to be a sex predator, you have to be a sex addict. I think that's the way to go. Different way.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you cannot be a sex predator and not be a sex addict. It's one following another kind of thing. Within that being said, this is probably not the point of the point of the conversation. The conversation is that the difficulty of the fact that he alleges to commit a crimes of unconsensual sex, and the women claim that he was so, and we really gonna be holding our hands on pulse here and seeing what's going on.
I'm just hoping that from the R kit, because you can't say the word, the R kit that the woman took when she went to the crisis center. I genuinely, because apparently he did it without condom, so hopefully there's some DNA evidence, and hopefully, because oftentimes, and I don't know if you know this, when women experience the R word and they go to a crisis center to get checked medically, they keep the kits, but not forever, and they are eventually thrown away.
Well, hopefully there is some.
Hopefully this one wasn't thrown away.
That's true.
Because you don't know, but
it's interesting how why that happens though. It should be on the record, and we're living in a day and age where it's
a digital record.
It's really easy to just digitally keep a record for 50 years. 50 years is good enough, or make it 100 for a good lifetime. Fine.
what I think now, if you think of the Golden State Killer, if you've heard of him.
And how he got found out.
He was caught because they used Ancestry.com and they took a piece of bubble gum from his trash can and they went and tested the DNA to confirm
that he's...
And they were able to know it was him and dig through his trash because his relatives had submitted DNA to Ancestry.com and they were matching... matching DNA from these people that had committed crimes and going, okay, this person is distantly related to this person. Let's look into their family tree and blah, 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 blah. I think a huge thing comes into like privacy for a lot of people in that regard.
And there's probably some HIPAA going on there as well, which is good. However, HIPAA doesn't protect you from a crime committed. Like, you cannot cite on HIPAA if it is a crime.
And obviously that technology wasn't around back in 2008, even 2013. We didn't really have these large data pools of Ancestry and 23andMe. Nowadays, I feel like they could absolutely submit DNA committed by these perpetrators and narrow it down.
Reasonably narrow,
I think it's a big way to potentially prevent this from happening in the future because it means people can't get away with it. Or they're going to really look for a way to not leave DNA evidence. But that's a big topic for another day. I do want to... Aleks isn't fully well aware of all of the controversies of Russell's past. So I just want to run a few of them by you and just get your reactions.
Okay.
And I do want to say, before I do, I used to be, I wouldn't say a huge fan, but I did enjoy quite a lot of his like stand-up and things that I enjoyed him on like panel shows and all that kind of stuff before.
That's true.
So
honestly, like, he was probably a window to somewhat degree of progressivism for me. Like, he was very progressive for my 2020 kind of me. I was like, oh, okay. Like, he's pushing my boundaries towards the left there.
It's crazy to look back and now look at his like Messiah complex.
Literally. And be like, oh my gosh, like, this is just, it's sad. But sad. But again, this is probably just how humans are. Like, it just, But okay, let's do it.
So these are some other controversies that he has committed, and I want your thoughts on them. Okay. So, I don't know if you know, he dated Katy Perry, and they got married.
I didn't know they got married. I know he dated.
They got married, and they were married for 14 months in a very whirlwind romance. She was filming a documentary at the time of her tour, and they've left it in the documentary for you to watch. While, like, 30 minutes before she was supposed to go out on stage to perform on her arena tour... he texted her that he wanted a divorce, and she never spoke to him after. Like, they never spoke after that. Like, the last thing she heard from him was, "I want a divorce," via text.
Jesus.
So you can watch her break down before she's like forced to go out on stage and perform.
That's very shit. Unbelievable. Wow. Okay. Wow.
Now, you touched on this. In 2007, he was on a radio talk show where he suggested that this 15-year-old caller, he said, "I suppose you're 16. You can't really drink booze yet or any other drugs because that's illegal. Now, you will be legally allowed to have sexual partners," he continues as the caller laughs in the resurfaced clip. From what they say. "Now, I think you should theme the party around legal sex," Brand adds. And later in the exchange, he suggests that she should have a vampire-themed party or masked ball, which he goes on to say, in its way, is erotic, but in a suppressed, subtle way for a 16-year-old girl. So, that's a weird...
it's a weird comment to hear from 30-year-old.
It's a weird thing to say to a 15-year-old on live radio. Like,
Yeah,
you're on live. It's a weird thing to say to a 15-year-old, period. But at the time, he knew he was live. He knew he was speaking to the world.
That's true.
That's weird.
I'm not entirely sure. Like, you're having a birthday party. Look, not every 21-year-old in America or 18-year-old in any other normal country in the world have a birthday party commemorating the fact that they can drink now. Like, it's not what it is about, really. Yes, it is somewhat of a turning point of you becoming adult, but it's really not about that, you know? Like, that's exactly that point. So, okay, you have a milestones in your life. You don't just go because it's your birthday about this milestone legally. You don't just go and be like,
I don't know. In America, 21-year-olds tend to, like, their 21st birthday, you're going to get wasted because you haven't been able to legally drink for them.
Yeah, but you do still get wasted anyway. We all know that's the case.
Yeah.
So, like, come on.
Okay. Your opinion on this one?
Okay.
The day after the September 11th terrorist attack in America, Brand turned up for work as a video journalist at MTV dressed as Osama bin Laden.
I think that's a case of bad timing. I'm not entirely sure what the hell he wanted to do.
He was doing that on purpose. It's not bad timing.
No, but a day before. So obviously...
No, the day after.
Or the day after.
Not the day before. So the September 11th attacks happened, and he chose to show up to work the next day dressed as Osama bin Laden.
What is the idea there? Why?
I'm not Russell Brand, so I can't tell you.
Look,
he was fired immediately.
Oh, fucking he would.
Of course.
Yes. Within that being said, look, there is a very sarcastic comedy. There is. I think he really pushed the boundaries towards the cliff there.
Push the boundaries. Yeah. That's like the line was back there.
I understand. Like, for example, give me an example. Literally, that's the thing. But giving you an example of, for example, Georgia Rabbit, for example, a Taika Waititi movie about the Hitler.
Yes.
Where he is.
How many years after World War II?
Fair. That's what I'm gonna say.
How many years after?
There is sarcastic comedy, and there is also a line in sarcastic comedy that you don't go over to.
Majority of the people that were tortured in Auschwitz are no longer alive to have to witness that kind of humor. And I think it would be, at any other point in history, not acceptable. It is now, and I get the dark comedy.
Yeah.
But you have to pay respect.
Oh, for sure.
And I think he paid respect. If you actually watched the movie, it was beautifully done.
No, it was very well done.
But it was also, not quite 100 years. Yeah. But
it was
close. 70 years
absolutely.
after.
So no, that just sounds stupid. That just, honestly, I would be curious to just sit down and be like, what exactly went through your head there to be like?
I think this existed for a lot of YouTubers during this time period, but I think it had a lot to do with shock value, and people just wanted shock content, and he just wanted to shock people. He wanted to make them angry and shock them. Yeah. And people on YouTube used to do that all the time.
Yeah. Look, Americans got pretty bloody shocked to go pretty much everywhere around Arabian Peninsula and just,
So, in 2002, so a year later, after he was fired from MTV for his Osama bin Laden stunt, he was then fired from the XFM radio station after he chose to read pornographic material on air.
Wow.
Again, I can't answer these questions for you.
He's just odd. He's just odd. Honestly. And look, pornographic material somewhat stays within the line of his kind of, the fact that he was a sex addict and blah, blah, blah. It stays at least consistent.
He was not, so at the time, he was using heroin, he was on drugs. He didn't get clean until 2003, which is when his sobriety started.
Okay.
but I don't think that necessarily made him much of a better person.
No. It's just odd.
In 2008, so this is 5 years sober for him. In 2008, during a performance at the Royal and Derngate Theatre in Northampton, he made a prank call to police saying that he had seen a man responsible for a series of assaults in Northamptonshire and by Northamptonshire police, and decided not to bring charges. Oh, sorry. No, I misread that. No.
Let's try again.
Sorry. Yeah. So during a performance at the Royal and Derngate Theatre in Northampton, he made a prank call to police saying he had seen a man responsible for a series of assaults. The local police chose not to
act on it.
Not to bring charges on him.
Okay.
So he made a prank call about assaults.
Okay.
So how...
Yeah, no, that's...
Karma.
That is.
Yeah,
well, yeah. 2008, that's like within the...
In 2008 as well, he made headlines again in September when he presented the MTV Video Music Awards and described the U.S. President George Bush as that other R word and cowboy fellow. So the mentally handicapped, now pejorative term, retard, which is not a polite term to say. He said that and cowboy fellow about the U.S. president.
Okay. Look, Bush wasn't perfect, but man, like, comparing to the latest ones, he was pretty fucking angelic.
I'll take him over Trump today.
Actually.
Perhaps his most infamous stunt was in 2008 when he did a prank call on Fawlty Towers actor Andrew Sachs on his BBC Radio 2 show. And he did this, I believe, alongside Jonathan Ross, who also got into a big amount of trouble for this. And it left him gratuitously offensive, humiliating, and demeaning messages on the actor's voicemail referring to Brand's brief relationship with Sachs's granddaughter, Georgina Bailey. So he basically just said a whole bunch of stuff about the actor's granddaughter on a voice message on live radio. And then, and then in 2017, the regulator of Ofcom ruled that Brand breached broadcasting rules by making sexual references during a weekend morning radio show when he asked an Elvis tribute act, "Have you ever had sex dressed as Elvis?" So, again, he quite often has a history of bringing up on radio now several sexually explicit concepts, whether it's, you know, reading pornographic material, asking a 15-year-old if she'll theme her birthday party after sex, asking Elvis tribute act, like what his life in the bedroom's like, doing all of these things. It starts to show the real pattern that exists.
Yeah. And that's probably, again, like, and I'm not trying to defend him here, look, but it's probably just showing that he's not recovered from his addiction. And he really needs to, step up there. You
have to stop equating sex addiction with sex predator.
Yeah, but...
It's not the same thing. What he's doing here is predatory behavior.
Yeah, for sure.
Sex addicts can be quiet, not speak to you about it, and then go pay a hooker and just, like, go and get what they want, or, like, meet women and go to whatever bars and get what they want. But they're not publicly going to go to their job and put people in awkward... situation.
That's where I actually disagree. That's where I think that people who are having that degree of real addiction, they will be living there in their mind of everything relates to sex.
I disagree.
Look, and this is really touching the topic of having the amount of the references towards women usually at work, for example. And again, this is, it's a predatory behavior, but it's probably relates to that kind of, attention to and really addiction to sex. I think that's where
I think a sex addiction can be a porn addiction.
Can be, for sure.
That's a different type of sex.
Probably. However, there also can be not. And I think in this case it's different.
But I think what he's showing here is not sex addiction. People who enjoy sex and are addicted to sex don't necessarily need to go and break these boundaries of the people around them. They don't. No, that's a predatory move.
I see where
they might oftentimes overlap in the Venn diagram.
Yeah.
You might often get sex predators and sex addicts in the same vicinity, but I don't think that this is sexually addictive behavior. I think this is sexually predatory behavior.
Yeah. Probably that's where, oh my gosh, the psychologists here are going to jump in and say that's where the addiction grows into like a disorder or something like that. That's probably where they're going to draw the line. Like addiction can be just within themselves and blah, blah, blah. And then that's where a disorder starts, and it's when you start affecting other people. It's probably some kind of definition there that we just don't know, but for the fact of it. But it's true. No, absolutely. And I agree with you. And it's problematic. It is problematic from the root of that. And the fact that he's so outspoken and so like out there, it doesn't add the ease to the situation. And I'm not entirely sure how to proceed from here, because it's like eventually, if the allegation is proven to be true, he'll go to jail. That's probably what's gonna happen. Now,
this is the problem. You say he'll go to jail. We don't know that. Our justice system is so broken. If you think of all like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, all of these things that were coming out during the Me Too movement. I remember at one point Bill Cosby was going to get house arrest for his entire sentencing, meaning he could lounge around inside of his house. He couldn't leave his property, but he could live comfortably and enjoy lots of different things inside of his house. And that was something that the justice system was going to serve him.
Yeah.
So you say maybe he'll go to jail. Maybe he won't.
Well, yeah, that's probably the case. But however, they are also not in America. So remember that he's in UK, and it's slightly different justice system as well. So maybe
slightly different justice system, but I think when it comes to the wealthy,
for sure,
it's extremely corrupt.
Different. Yeah, it's different. But it's also, hey, you say it's corrupt. To a lot of degree, it's legal. Like, to a lot of degree, you can pay money to live home in custody.
And how sad is that?
Like, honestly, it is, yes. It is, and it's very unfair. And I'm not entirely sure how to, like, even pursue that. Because from one perspective, I'm like, okay, if somebody pays $1 billion to not to go to jail, but to stay home within their, like, confinement per se, it's kind of good, because it's $1 billion that we can put something that's actually beneficial, like good.
But but you're not teaching, like, they're not receiving punishment. These are people that live in a mansion where they can go and soak in a jacuzzi or go swim in their pool or have all of the privacy in the world, or sleep whenever they want, and eat any food they want, and all of these luxury things. Granted, I don't know how the prison system is in other countries or in the UK. I just think of, like, house arrest is living in luxury, just not being able to leave your house.
Yes.
You could still have parties. You could still get drunk if you wanted to.
Well,
who's there to check? You're not having a guard.
No. You actually do. To the situations like that, you'll probably have some authority there at all times to just be there, making sure that you're there.
Do you know how much tax money goes to that person's salary and how much waste that would be?
Probably, but again, like, that's where they are.
No, you get an ankle bracelet, and maybe on occasion they drug test you.
Fair, but not always, and probably not always closer to reality rather than that. Within that being said, this is probably just a very gray area of the conversation. What I mean to say is, and it's again not in defense of the system, but on the example of the German prison system, the severity of the punishment does not result in change of behavior. And we see that exactly with the German system, where prisoners in the German system allowed to go home during the Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's not about the severity of the punishment, it's about the real change within the society. And we need to make an example out of it. We need
100% America's recidivism rate is through the roof.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
What infuriates me is the idea of someone living in luxury
during the time when they
should be
living,
when they should be doing volunteer work or whatever. I don't know.
Absolutely. No, I concur. I absolutely agree, and I don't know where and how we move on from there, and where do we should go as a society, because there are really a lot of this contradictory kind of points there. As one is you look at the German, you're like, okay, even very seriously convicted people.
I think it's Switzerland that has like the lowest recidivism rates in the world. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
But I think it's what it is, and they do live I agree, the American system's trash. And it's much better. I just don't like. It just made me really upset when the whole Bill Cosby thing. It seemed like he was going to get to live in his mansion and blah blah blah,
and do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
and it's sad. Yeah. And again, but within that being said, people also serve, like, public opinion also serves very well as well. And recovering from the allegations such as what Russell Brand has, if it's proven to be true, is really hard. Like, who is going to actually listen to him or go to his shows or really watch his specials or whatever? Like, his life will become very hard.
Not if he's proven innocent.
If he's proven innocent, it's different.
Yeah.
Still gonna be harder though. But if he's proven innocent, different. Within that being said, if he's proven innocent, I think we as a society...
I don't think he will be, but...
Yes. I think, look, if there is an allegation and somebody is proven innocent, I think we as a society should agree to actually treat them as innocent. As much as it could be unfair.
People do.
I think we really should.
People
I think
do.
That's the right way to go.
think the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing.
Yeah. Again,
said a lot.
Where is that at the current stage? Because I'm really lost there. Because it was just it was this for like 20 years. So, like, really.
Amber Heard put the allegations against Johnny Depp about abuse. He was proven innocent. And he's been given his roles back within the
we heard
Hollywood
that. Then
and blah, blah,
we heard that some prominent brands dropped Amber Heard from having her on that, but
because
then
she lied.
But there's now another more lawsuits in different states about different things.
That's more like libel and all that.
Yeah, but that's
when
what
it comes to the abuse, that was what was resulted.
Okay, so again, but see, and this is kind of dropping towards the topic that I wanted really to touch on, and we kind of spoken about it off camera, is that we really, in the current day and age, we are at the situation where we are really not educating people towards how to behave with other bloody people.
Right.
Like, really, we're not.
To go down this vein, I'll just say a few of the statistics when it comes to SA that exists within our world globally. Yeah. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are SA'd before they are 18 years old. 1 in 5 children are solicited on the internet. Nearly 70% of all reported SAs, including assaults on adults, occur to children ages 17 and under. The median age for reported SA is 9 years old. More than 20% of children are SA'd before the age of 8. 20%.
That's...
Nearly 50% of all victims of forcible sodomy, SA, with an object, and forcible fondling are children under 12 years old. 30 to 40% of victims are abused by a family member. As many as 50% of victims are abused by someone outside of the family whom they know and trust. Fewer than 10% of victims are by strangers or abused by strangers. Approximately 40% are abused by older or larger children who they know. We have to do something.
Yeah, we do. I really do. And
different.
It's kind of against what you probably got preached and I got preached at as a child, is to be like careful in the street and blah blah blah, and like really when you think about those statistics,
it's very different from what I was. So here are things that I was taught that you probably never heard.
Okay, go for it.
When you're wearing a dress, you would constantly be told, cross your legs, cross your legs, cross your legs, cross your legs.
Yeah, that's...
You were never... Yeah. Okay. But, like, you are reminded of it. Whereas kids, you're not thinking about that. Sex isn't on your mind. So when you're wanting to just sit comfortably, and they're like, cross your legs, cross your legs.
Yeah.
Cross your legs.
That's, well...
That's, like, shoved down your throat as a kid, and you don't understand why. If you end up in a situation where you think you are about to be essayed... I was taught you scream fire. You don't scream anything else. You scream fire because you are more likely, statistically, to get help from others around you than if you were to scream anything else. I don't know if you heard about this study that has come out. Not just one. This is a big study that's taken lots of other studies and findings and just kind of compiled them together. And it's called the bystander study. Women are safer around other women. A woman's likelihood of being in danger increases dramatically the moment she's in the presence of a man. And if there is some physical altercation against a woman, some kind of physical abuse for a woman on the street, men are more likely to be the bystander. Women will come to her rescue, not men.
That's actually very sad.
That's very sad. And you want to know what they found out through all of these studies, which are from all different decades, all different years.
Yeah.
They found that the majority of men who chose not to act believed in some way that she was getting what she deserved.
No, that's
why they didn't step in. So women are more likely to come to your defense if you're being abused on the street.
That's crazy. It's actually a very serious taboo in the Russian culture. If there is a situation when you're in the public and you see a woman being abused by a man, you do not stay aside. You don't step aside. That's already crossing the line.
You don't step it, like you have to intervene?
Yeah, you as a man you have to intervene there. That's because it's not a fair fight already from the beginning. And
well,
that's what we
you think that. You think that.
Yeah.
But globally.
But that's the
globally.
Look, and that's
women
sad.
Come to the rescue more often.
And that's sad
again. Not just more often, 90%,
exponentially, but so and that's a statistic there to prove it, and that's
not to
sad.
In any way demean any SA or abuse that men face. I'm just pointing out in this particular instance when it comes to that kind of physical assault on women and just the difference that women experience growing up. We're told different things.
That's true.
But 1 in 6 boys are essayed before they are 18.
It's just shocking because you would think about it would be significantly more women, right? And it's not that. I mean, it's still twice, but it's at the same time it's 1 in 6.
1 in 6.
And we discussed it in some of the previous subjects
we had discussed Ruby Frankie and kind of touched on
10 million
abuse.
people. 10 million people in the US every year.
And that's US alone.
10 million people.
Yeah.
That is just they're just a shocking numbers.
And if you stop and think about all of the women that you know in your life, how many have probably experienced in some form.
A lot, yeah. No, and a lot, and it's even shocking in the lots that I'm aware at. That's where it's also and subjects like this make me really stop and think and be like, oh, like, out of, say, 1,000 women that I know, how many actually have received a form of the sexual abuse or violence. Yeah, it's really, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But at the
and
same
out
time,
of the men that you've met,
the men of much rarer, and it's probably going to take
that
me a little bit of a...
but it also probably they didn't want to talk about it.
That's true.
We don't exist in a society
where rate of
men...
domestic violence would be closer than the sexual violence, for sure. But yes, that's true, and a lot of men don't talk about it. That's which is itself a problem. And look,
Huge.
all of that just leads to us.
What do we
really
do?
need to change. And look, I'm a big proponent of having some sort of education, and I've touched that subject during the Ruby's Frankie, the fact that we should have license for being a parent. Like we should just educate adults and young adults as well.
Education should just never end.
That's true. It
at
shouldn't.
Any point. Like,
look, it shouldn't. But we also have to have a stable brackets of what the adult human being should be capable of. And for example, they should be capable of understanding of a reactions of the science of the physical abuse. Like, it should be like you have to educate your 16, 17, 18-year-olds in school that this is the science of the physical and mental abuse that other people exhibit.
I think
this should be the case.
I think a huge thing that is happening now is people are focusing in like the kindergarten, preschool, first grade kind of level. So young kids, 4, 5, 6, about boundaries and teaching them boundaries. She's playing with that toy, so you can't play with that toy. She doesn't want to be hugged right now, so you don't get to hug her. You respect her boundaries. You got to ask if you want to do, like, you teach them young. And then they grow up having more of an understanding of that kind of boundaries. I remember this was another study that came out, and this is a long time ago, so I'm very foggy on it. But they essentially asked a college class what meant consent, and this was during the Me Too movement. So like maybe 2015, 2016, whenever.
We say it's during the Me Too movement, but it's MeOo movement never stopped.
It never stopped.
It's kind of
during the beginning.
I understand what you mean by that. Like the big fuss about Me Too. Yeah, I understand.
I think during our life we've gone through quite a lot of like bracketed periods of time where this is the Me Too movement. This is all Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter movement.
There's kind of like staples there.
Yeah, so
but
during
never stopped, and it's still going on, and for good reason, it's still going on.
Yeah, no, 100%. And somebody was saying about Catherine Ryan, who years ago, the comedian who was warning potentially about Russell Brand, but she refuses to confirm from years ago, would make an amazing like face and spokesperson at this present stage for the Me Too movement, and it's carrying on. And just think, like, I think you were too young to necessarily experience it during the early 2000s. You were very young. But the mentality and psychology of society as a whole, the way that media presents information, how seriously the media takes information has changed so drastically when it comes to allegations of SA. And I think it's beautiful, and it's a great thing that's come from the Me Too movement, because it would have been made fun of as a joke in the early 2000s, and it would have been pushed aside, and people would have been like,
from the beginning.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, from the beginning it is very, very hard to even come out and be like, look, I've been a subject of.
Yeah.
Like, it's already a step.
So hard.
And it's fair. And again, it's just we have to start to do something about it. Before we close off, I thought I'll give you just a little bit of a statistics there and to kind of not just point out the system that we live in right now, but also the kind of the weakness part of it all is, for example, 30% of US adults are neither married or living with the partner or engaged under the age of 28. So now that could be a good thing that, okay, people are taking longer time to actually be within a good, stable relationship, and it's great, but 34% of them are women. And, 66, close to 66 are men. So now you question that and be like, oh, okay, so that's only a third of a woman.
I think this is a topic for
subject.
another day.
Yeah,
but I think this is in relation to, I'll save my opinion for it's a big topic.
And again, the ways how women like to be approached, the ways how men think women like to be approached also very much differ. And that's all.
Oh, they're completely different today than they used to be as well.
Absolutely. And it's all the things that we have to, talk, but also be comfortable in, to be like, hey, our general consent is this. And we all just have to agree at least on something there. Because living in the situation where one considers it to be sexual assault, another one is thinking that is absolutely what they would like to do, is not okay.
Yeah. Not okay.
It had to be fixed.
If you or somebody that you know has been a victim of SA, please look at your local authorities. Please get help. If you see the signs in someone, please don't be silent. Say something.
Yeah, and just support other people. They really need your help, and lots of people really need your help.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. So that's the episode for this topic is over. On a light note today. Well, if YouTube isn't your thing, please follow us on any other major social media platforms. We do post on Threads and Instagram quite often, but also you can listen to the full podcast on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts as well. We do, if we ever make money out of this, we'll donate 10% of all the profits to a effective altruism New Zealand, which is probably the best charity in New Zealand to exist at the current stage. We'll see you next week for a next episode of the Mirage Inquiry, and we'll love you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.